now return to our live coverage of the funeral of Wolverine. Now coming to the podium to make their eulogy are the world's finest, Superman and Batman.
Hi. Wolverine was a Marvel, and I am a DC.
And I'm Batman.
What can be said about Wolverine that hasn't been said a million times and over? He was a tremendous warrior, a real credit to the side of truth and justice, and kind of an all-around great guy, or so I've been told. I mean, well, I never got to see it because he was usually kind of always gruff with me. I mean, like that one time at the local Taco Bell, I saw him and I said, "Hey, Wolverine, how you doing?" And he was like, "Piss off, Boy Scout." Sorry. Oh, don't get me wrong. I mean, I know he was a great hero and all. And, trust me, I do know what he's going through. Dying really does suck. But, hey, I got better. Speaking of which, just out of curiosity, how many heroes in the audience today have died and come back to life? Oh, okay, so all of you. Raise your hand.
I'll be technical. Just at the time.
Okay, well, if you want to get technical, only I was in a healing coma. Come on, Darkseid's Omega Beams, hello. Well, what we are here today, in the long wind of things, is to say goodbye, Wolverine. You will be missed, and we'll see you soon. Attention, everybody! Galactus has suddenly attacked Metropolis! All of us have to come together to stop him once and for all. Flying heroes, join me and assemble to the skies. All ground heroes, evacuate the civilians.
Wait. I'm coming with you.
Alright, Bats. I'll bring my superpower, super speed, super strength, super endurance, and all of my other special powers, and you can bring your slightly above average human intelligence.
You know what? You, Superman.
You're watching the Brotherhood of Gaming video game show, the only video game show that's not afraid to make the fangirls swoon. I'm your host, William Morris.
And I'm your co-host, Eugene Morris. And in honor of Wolverine's untimely passing in Marvel Comics, we decided for our third episode of Sega Genesis vs. Super Nintendo to focus on video games featuring everyone's favorite team of mutant superheroes, the X-Men.
Now, before we get started, there's a couple of things that we want to address. Like, we're not going to include the Spider-Man tie-ins with the X-Men because, one, that's cheating, and two, well...
They're kind of their own thing.
Yeah.
We might do that in future episodes.
And we were also going to include Wolverine's Adamantium Rage. However, we came to the conclusion that those games were kind of, well, not good. Fair enough. So...
And besides, we know that if we include all of those games, then, well, this video will get ridiculously long.
And we know your YouTube attention spans.
So we're going to keep things simple and focus on the main X-Men titles. Representing the Sega Genesis will be X-Men and its sequel, X-Men 2 Clone Wars. And for the Super Nintendo, we have X-Men Mutant Apocalypse.
So, let's play the games.
X-Men was developed by Western Technologies for the Sega Genesis in 1993. The game has both a single-player and a multiplayer mode, and out of all of the games in this episode, this one does feature the most X-Men used in different roles. There are 4 playable X-Men that the players can choose from. There's Wolverine with his detractable adamantium claws and his healing potential. Gambit with his bow staff and his charged cards. Cyclops and his optic blasts. And Nightcrawler with his nifty transportation ability. When you make your initial selection, you can swap out among them in the pause menu. Also appearing in this game are Storm, Rogue, Iceman, and Archangel as support characters who you can call out for an assist, which is also done in the pause menu. Jean Grey will also make an appearance by lifting your character out of a pit that you may happen to fall into. Speaking of which, this is an action platformer with a high emphasis on platforming. The levels are also designed as huge mazes that you will have to navigate through, with some key areas obstructed by objects, so you will have to exhaust every single area and do quite a bit of backtracking in order to find your way through. The game takes place in the Danger Room, which is kind of clever. While the X-Men are training, a virus sent by Magneto infiltrates the X-Mansion computer, causing the safety measures to be deactivated, and the holographic enemies to become very lethal. It's like the episode The Big Goodbye from Star Trek, The Next Generation. Needless to say, the X-Men are forced to battle their way out of this predicament. On your Sega controller, you have a jump button and an attack button, and the third accesses your mutant powers. Once it runs out though, you will have to wait until it replenishes again. You will have to find energy boosts to replenish your health, which is not a big deal, but the thing that really surprised us is when you beat a level, your character's health does not replenish on its own. Instead, you will have to break the orbs in order to regenerate your health a bit at a time. Now let's just address the juggernaut-sized elephant in the room. This game is freaking hard! Now before anyone says anything about anything, let us go into some detail. You see, a while ago, some smart aleck said we didn't know how to play video games because we said one was too hard. There is a big difference between a fair and rewarding challenge and a game that just goes way overboard, and unfortunately, this one is the latter. Damn it! What is that? Dragon's fly? Well, whatever it is, it's giving the Medusa heads from Castlevania a run for their money. Look, in a game like Mega Man, the challenge is there, but in a fair way. When you mess up, it's your fault. But in this game, you have annoying enemies that come out of nowhere, level designs that can get really confusing, and to top it off, there is a part in the game where you have to lightly press the reset button on the console in order to advance. What the f***? Who thought that was a good idea? We commend them for being creative, but you know what? Some ideas should have been left on the cutting room floor. I haven't seen a game mechanic so broken ever since Hideo Kojima made us have to look on the back of a CD case in order to advance. The graphics are decent, and the music, composed by Fletcher Beasley, is very well done. Hell, it might be the best part of the game. It carries that distinct X-Men feel. Unfortunately, we can't say the same about the sound effects. X-Men for the Sega Genesis is not a bad game, not at all. It's just one that really hasn't aged well. You have to be a real serious X-Men fan and enjoy banging your head off of a wall difficulty to really get into this one. Now look, if you can beat the game, our hat's off to you. You're definitely better gamers than one of us. But let's see what else is out there for the rest of us mere humans.
In 1995, whoa. What? What's happening? Am I... Oh. I'm playing? Oh, okay. Yeah, once you put in the cartridge, the first level automatically begins. Huh. Well, X-Men 2 Clone Wars hit the shelves in 1995. Developed by Headgames, this is the sequel to 93's X-Men. Oh. After you beat the first level, then you get the menu screen.
Please, Spock, do me a favor. And don't say it's fascinating. No. But it is interesting.
Based on the comic book storyline, an alien race known as the Phalanx are attacking Earth and assimilating the populations. Never heard that before. A group of X-Men, along with Magneto, set out to stop them before it's too late. The cast includes Cyclops, Wolverine, Gambit, Beast, Nightcrawler, and Psylocke. Yeah, you remember Psylocke. She's like Jean Grey, just more... a lot more. You can select these characters at the beginning of the stages. Nice Superman pose there, Cyclops. The mechanics of this game is similar to the first, with a basic attack, a jump, and a mutant power. But this time, there's no limit. You can use your power all you like. And of course, the X-Men can do different things with them. Cyclops and Gambit can fire their long-range attacks at different directions, for example. Nightcrawler can teleport, Wolverine has his healing ability, Beast has his brute strength and acrobatics, and Psylocke has a sword and her psychic knife. And after the third level in this game, you can also get the option of playing as Magneto. Awesome! When you hold down the power button, for some you can get an extra boost, and depending on how much health you have, you can also increase the effectiveness of your powers. Not only do each character has their own fun attacks, they also have slight differences in their movesets, which makes them vastly unique from one another. You can pick up healing items in the forms of double helixes. You start off with 8 total lives, but you cannot get any more than that. This game is primarily a platformer, but the levels are more straightforward in this one than in the previous title, making it easier to maneuver around. The graphics are tight, with a nicely animated cast and backgrounds, and the controls are smooth. Overall, this makes the game more user-friendly. The music is also well done, this time composed by Kurt Harlan, and some levels have custom tracks depending on which character you play as, which is a really nice touch. Weird opening aside, this game is a surefire love letter to the fans of X-Men. You can go it alone or bring in a friend. Either way, X-Men 2 Clone Wars hits the mark. In all intents and purposes, this is exactly what the first game should have been. On a side note, they were going to make a third game in this series called X-Women, but it got scrapped when they moved to the Sega Saturn. Oh man, I would have loved to play a game as Storm, Rogue, Jean Grey, Psylocke, Jubilee. What could have been?
X-Men Mutant Apocalypse was developed by Capcom and released on the Super Nintendo. This and X-Men Children of Atom were the first 2 X-Men games made by Capcom. Both came out in 1994, before the Marvel vs. Capcom days. On the small secret island of Genosha, mutants are being held against their will. Therefore, Professor X dispatches a small team of X-Men to infiltrate the island and rescue the hostages. The Professor decides to separate the members of the team and give them specific missions to complete. It's like Mission Impossible, just with mutants. Wolverine's job is to bust into the Sentinels' factory and take them out. Cyclops is tasked with destroying the military train. Psylocke is to act as a distraction to draw away the forces at the main base, while Gambit takes out the harbor, and Beast will gain access to the main computer. It's a pretty effective and cool scenario. Similar to Mega Man, when you start the game you can choose which missions you want to play in order, but you only have 2 lives each to complete each level. When you complete the first part of a game, you then go to face off the familiar faces from the X-Men's Rogue Gallery, such as the Brood Queen, Omega Red, Apocalypse, Magneto, and many more. Unlike the X-Men games on the Sega, this one has much more of a focus on pure action and less of the platforming. The X-Men have full access to all of their powers, which, by the way, are unlimited this time. They also have the ability to perform a number of kick-ass combos. There is a jump and attack button, and by using the D-pad, a la Street Fighter, you can perform these moves such as Gambit throwing his energy charge cards, Cyclops using his I-beams, and so on. Beast can also walk on ceilings and fight like Blanca, so yeah, he's got that. You will also need these different moves as well. A lot of times, enemies will swarm you, and if you let them, they can take massive amounts of energy off of you. So you will need to use distant attacks in order to keep them at bay. The controls are tight and very responsive, as they should be, and the combat is repetitive, as it should be, but it's still very fun. Everything is so bright and colorful, which is a good thing. Everyone looks great and spot on. The soundtrack is also very strong as well. Nothing too spectacular, just some good old-fashioned Capcom tunes. In addition to the mission mode, you also have a practice mode where you can practice going through the early levels with the challenge decreased, and a password system for the later levels. No matter how you slice it, X-Men Mutant Apocalypse for the Super Nintendo is a damn good game. It is challenging, but far easier to get into than the Sega counterpart. The game may not be as classic as other side-scrollers from its generation, but for fans of the X-Men, and especially for those who own a Super Nintendo, there is no reason not to add this to your collection.
Well, there you have it. There's 3 X-Men games. Now, I have a very important question. In the early 90s, how many of you kids did this with your kitchen knives? Well, whatever the reason, be sure to subscribe, follow us on Twitter and Facebook, and of course, tell us your thoughts on the games below, or if you have any ideas of what should be the next games to pit against one another. Meanwhile, you've been watching the Brotherhood of Gaming video game show, the only video game show that isn't afraid to make the fanboys fear us. I'm your host, William Morris.
And I'm your co-host, Eugene Morris.
And we will see you next time in one of our many awesome videos.
Peace.
Hey there! Thank you so much for watching. If you liked this video, by all means hit the like button and leave a nice comment below. If you want to see more from us, please hit the subscribe button. Also, remember to visit our website, thebrotherhoodofgaming.com. If you wish to follow the Brotherhood of Gaming, you can do so through our Twitter and Facebook accounts. Thank you again for watching, and we'll see you next time.